The jungle air was thick and humid as Marcus Chen walked slowly through the twisted trees. His boots made soft sounds on the damp ground covered with strange purple leaves. He had been walking for 2 hours now, checking the area around the human base camp like he did every day. Marcus was a Marine sergeant. He had short black hair and strong arms from years of training. His uniform was already wet with sweat in the hot air of planet Xerion 7. This world was nothing like Earth. The trees glowed with soft blue light, and flowers made tiny bell sounds when the wind touched them. 3 months ago, humans had made first contact with the aliens who lived on this planet. The aliens called themselves the Kythera. They looked like people but had skin that changed colors and made clicking sounds to talk. The human scientists were very excited to learn about them. Marcus stopped walking when he heard a strange noise. It sounded like crying, but not human crying. The sound was high and musical, like a bird in pain. He turned his head to listen better. The sound came from his left, deeper in the jungle where the trees grew thicker. He should have called his team on the radio. That was the rule. But something about the crying made him worry. It sounded scared and hurt. Marcus had a younger sister back on Earth, and this reminded him of when she used to cry as a little girl. Marcus pushed through the thick plants and followed the sound. The jungle got darker as the trees blocked more sunlight, but the glowing flowers gave off enough light to see. The crying got louder as he got closer. Then he saw it. A small creature was trapped in a tangle of vines. It was definitely one of the Kythera, but much smaller than any he had seen before. The little alien was no bigger than a human child of maybe 3 years old. Its skin was a pretty blue color with purple spots, but the colors kept changing as it cried. The vines wrapped around the small Kythera's leg. Marcus could see dark liquid on the vines where they cut into the alien's skin. The liquid glowed with a sick green light that did not look healthy. "Hey there, little one," Marcus said softly. He did not know if the alien child could understand him, but his voice was gentle. "I'm going to help you." The small Kythera looked at him with big eyes that sparkled like jewels. It stopped crying for a moment, but its skin turned bright orange with fear. Marcus had learned that orange meant the Kythera were scared or worried. Marcus knelt down slowly. He did not want to frighten the child more. He took out his survival knife and began cutting the vines very carefully. The plants were tough and rubbery, but his knife was sharp. Each time he cut a vine, it made a sound like a sigh. "It's okay," Marcus kept talking in a calm voice. "I'm going to get you out of here." The child's skin slowly changed from orange to a softer yellow color. Marcus thought that might mean it was feeling a little better. He worked carefully around the injured leg. The wound was deep and still bleeding the glowing green blood. When the last vine was cut, Marcus gently lifted the small alien. It was lighter than he expected, and its skin felt warm and smooth like polished stone. The child made soft musical sounds that almost sounded like singing. Marcus opened his first aid kit. He had learned basic medical training in the Marines. The alien's blood was different from human blood, but a wound was still a wound. He cleaned the cut as gently as he could and wrapped it with a clean bandage. The child watched him work with curious eyes. Its skin had changed to a soft blue-green color now. When Marcus finished, the little alien touched the bandage and then touched Marcus's hand. It made a sound that almost sounded like "thank you" in its musical language. Marcus looked around. He was deep in the jungle, and he did not know where this child belonged. But he had seen lights through the trees when he walked patrol. The Kythera villages glowed at night with their bio-light technology. He would have to find this child's home. He made a simple carrying sling from his spare shirt. The child seemed to understand and climbed onto his back. It was warm against him, and he could feel its small heart beating fast. Marcus started walking toward where he thought he had seen the lights before. The jungle was getting darker as the day ended, but the glowing plants made a path he could follow. The child on his back made small sounds and sometimes pointed with one tiny hand to show which way to go. They walked for a long time. Marcus's legs got tired, but he did not stop. The child needed to get home, and it needed better medical care than he could give. Sometimes the little alien would sing softly in his ear. The sound was beautiful and sad at the same time. As they walked deeper into the jungle, Marcus saw things he had never seen before. Trees that pulsed with light like giant hearts. Flowers that chimed together like bells when the wind touched them. Streams that glowed blue and made the rocks shine underneath. The child pointed ahead excitedly and made happy chirping sounds. Marcus saw a glow through the trees that was different from the natural jungle light. This was brighter and had many colors. As they got closer, he could see it was some kind of village. The buildings were amazing. They looked like they had grown from the trees themselves, twisting up toward the sky in spirals of living wood and crystal. Lights moved through the walls like flowing water in every color Marcus could imagine. But when Marcus stepped into the open area of the village, everything went quiet. Dozens of Kythera adults stood in the village square. They were all looking at him. Their skin colors changed rapidly from blues and greens to bright orange and red. Marcus remembered that these were warning colors. Several of the aliens stepped forward. They carried weapons that looked like they were made from the same glowing wood as their buildings. Marcus raised his hands to show he was not dangerous, being careful not to hurt the child on his back. The small Kythera on Marcus's back began to sing. The song was complex and beautiful, with notes that went up and down like water flowing over rocks. When the child sang, every adult Kythera in the village stopped moving. Their skin colors changed to patterns Marcus had never seen before. An old Kythera walked toward them. This one was different from the others. Its skin looked like black glass with silver lines running through it. It moved slowly but with great dignity. Around its neck was a necklace of glowing stones that pulsed with soft light. The old alien spoke, and Marcus heard words in his own language coming from a small device on its chest. "You have completed the first trial, human. You showed mercy to the lost. But tell me, why did you not simply signal your people to retrieve the young one?" Marcus was confused. "Trial? What trial?" "I don't understand," he said. "I just found this child hurt in the jungle. I had to help. I couldn't leave a kid alone and injured." The old Kythera's skin changed to colors Marcus had never seen before. Deep gold with silver patterns that moved like lightning. "You have unknowingly entered the trial of the heart, human. This was the first test to choose our next chieftain." Marcus stared at the old Kythera in shock. "Chieftain? Trial?" He had no idea what was happening. "I think there's been a mistake," he said slowly. "I'm just a Marine. I was trying to help this child get home." The old alien smiled, and Marcus was surprised to see that the expression looked almost human. "I am Elder Zixhai," she said through her translation device. "And there is no mistake. Our ways may seem strange to you, but they are sacred to us." The child on Marcus's back climbed down and ran to a Kythera woman whose skin had turned bright yellow with joy. The woman hugged the child close and made happy chirping sounds. She looked at Marcus and spoke quickly in the Kythera language. "She says thank you." Elder Zixhai translated. "She says you were kind and gentle with her daughter." "Daughter?" Marcus looked at the small alien, who waved at him with tiny hands. "She's just a little kid. Of course I helped her." Elder Zixhai's skin showed those strange gold patterns again. Around them, the other Kythera were changing colors rapidly. Marcus saw flashes of blue, purple, orange, and green. It was like watching a light show, but he did not understand what it meant. "Come," the elder said. "You must understand what has happened, and we must explain our ways to you." She led Marcus through the village. Up close, the buildings were even more amazing. They were not built from wood and stone like human buildings. Instead, they seemed to have grown from living trees that had been shaped into homes. The walls pulsed gently with soft light, and Marcus could see that they were warm to the touch. "Our buildings are alive," Elder Zixhai explained when she saw him staring. "We do not cut down trees to make homes. We ask the trees to grow into the shapes we need. It takes many years, but it is the way of harmony." They entered a large building in the center of the village. Inside, the walls curved upward like the inside of a giant flower. Soft light moved through the walls in slow waves. It was the most beautiful room Marcus had ever seen. "Sit," the elder said, pointing to a chair that seemed to grow from the floor as she spoke. Marcus sat down carefully. The chair was surprisingly comfortable and seemed to adjust to fit his body. Elder Zixhai sat across from him in her own chair. Her skin had changed to a calm blue color with silver spots. "Let me tell you about our people," she began. "We Kythera believe that leaders must be chosen by their hearts, not by their strength or their words." Marcus listened carefully. This was important, even if he did not understand why. "Our old chieftain died in an accident 2 months ago," the elder continued. "Since then, we have been without a leader. Our people are divided about many things. We need someone to guide us, but that someone must prove they have the right heart." "I understand that," Marcus said, "but I'm not one of your people. I'm human." "That does not matter," Elder Zixhai said. "The trials test the heart, not the species. Our sacred stories tell of leaders who came from unexpected places. What matters is wisdom, kindness, and courage. She stood up and walked to the curved wall. When she touched it, the wall began to show pictures made of light. Marcus saw images of the jungle, the village, and many Cathara working together. The first trial is the trial of mercy, she explained. We place one of our young ones in danger, but not real danger. There are always watchers nearby to make sure no harm comes. Then we wait to see who will help. You use that little girl as bait? Marcus felt angry. That's not right. She could have been really hurt. Elder Zixhai's skin turned a deep purple color that Marcus had not seen before. You misunderstand. Kira was never in real danger. The vines that held her would have released her after 1 hour. The wound was made with a plant that looks bad but heals quickly. But we needed to see who would stop to help a stranger's child. Marcus thought about this. He was still angry, but he was beginning to understand. How many people walked by before me? 17 of our own people saw her, the elder admitted. But they all knew it was the trial, so they could not help. The test must be taken by someone who acts from the heart, not from knowledge. And if no one had helped her, then we would have known that this was not the right time for a new leader. We would have waited and tried again later. Elder Zixhai touched the wall again, and the pictures changed. Now they showed Marcus carrying the child through the jungle. But you came, she said. You heard crying in the jungle and you left your safe path to help. You used your medical supplies on someone you had never met. You carried her for miles to bring her home. This is what we look for in a leader. Marcus shook his head. I just did what anyone would do. No, the elder said firmly. Many would have called for help on their radios and waited. Many would have been afraid to touch an alien child. Many would have done the minimum required and no more. You did what your heart told you was right. Around them, more Cathara had entered the building. They sat quietly in chairs that grew from the floor, their skin colors shifting slowly. Marcus could see that some were excited while others looked worried. What happens now? Marcus asked. Now you must choose, Elder Zixhai said. You can return to your people with honor. We will tell them you helped one of our children, and you will be remembered as a friend. Or you can continue with the trials. What are the other trials? The second trial is the trial of wisdom. Our village faces a problem that we cannot solve alone. You would need to find a way to help us that brings our people together instead of dividing us further. And the third trial? Elder Zixhai's skin became very dark, almost black. The third trial is the trial of sacrifice. It tests whether you can put the good of others before your own desires. It is the hardest trial, and not everyone who takes it survives unchanged. Marcus felt scared, but also curious. What kind of problem does your village have? The elder gestured to the other Kithara in the room. Our sacred grove is dying. It is where we grow the seeds that give light to our buildings and food to our children. Without it, our whole way of life will end. She touched the wall again, and Marcus saw pictures of a forest of glowing trees. But in the recent pictures, many of the trees were dark and withered. 3 groups of our people have different ideas about how to save the grove, she continued. The cultivators want to use the old songs our ancestors taught us. The technicians want to use new methods they learned from studying your human science. The spiritualists say we should abandon this place and find a new grove elsewhere. Marcus could see the problem. They can't agree, so nothing gets done. Exactly. Each group thinks the others are wrong. They argue every day while the grove dies more. We need someone who can find a way to bring them together. Marcus thought about this. In the Marines, he had worked with people from many different backgrounds. He had learned that most of the time, people wanted the same things but had different ideas about how to get them. What if I try and fail? He asked. Then you fail with honor, Elder Zixhai said. But if you do not try, you will always wonder what might have been. Marcus looked around the room at all the Kythera faces watching him. Their skin colors were shifting like slow waves, and he was beginning to understand that this was how they showed their emotions to each other. Can I see this grove? He asked. And can I talk to these 3 groups? Elder Zixhai's skin turned bright gold again. You will try? Marcus nodded slowly. I'll try, but I want to understand what I'm getting into. The elder stood up and spoke in the Kithara language to the others in the room. Their skin colors flashed in patterns that looked like celebration. Marcus hoped he had made the right choice. The next morning, Elder Zixhai took Marcus to see the sacred grove. They walked for an hour through paths that wound between the glowing trees. Other Kithara joined them along the way, their skin colors showing curiosity and worry. When they reached the grove, Marcus understood why the Kithara were so frightened. The place should have been beautiful. He could see that it once was. Ancient trees rose high into the sky, their trunks thick and strong. But many of them were dark and lifeless now. These trees are over 1,000 years old, Elder Zixhai explained. They provide the seeds that power our lights, our food growth systems, and our healing medicines. Without them, we cannot survive in this jungle. Marcus walked closer to examine the dead trees. Their bark was cracked and peeling. The ground around them was bare and dry, while the healthy trees still had the glowing moss and colorful flowers growing nearby. When did this start? Marcus asked. 6 months ago, said a new voice behind him. Marcus turned to see a Kithara whose skin was covered in swirling patterns of green and brown. I am Veltar of the Cultivators. We believe the trees are sick because we have forgotten the old ways. Veltar led Marcus to a group of Kithara who were sitting in a circle around one of the dying trees. They were singing in harmony, their voices creating complex melodies that seemed to make the air itself vibrate. The song was beautiful, but Marcus could see that the tree was not responding. Our ancestors sang to the trees for generations, Veltar explained. The songs carry the wisdom of growth and healing. But the young ones no longer learn the old melodies properly. They change the words and add new sounds. This is why the trees are angry with us. Marcus listened to the singing for a while. The songs were indeed beautiful, and he could see that the Kithara put their hearts into the music. But he also noticed that different singers used different melodies for the same words, and sometimes they did not stay together in rhythm. Have you tried teaching everyone the exact same song? Marcus asked. Veltar's skin turned orange with frustration. The technicians and spiritualists will not learn. They say our ways are old and useless. They have no respect for tradition. Before Marcus could respond, another Kithara approached them. This one's skin was metallic silver with blue streaks, and it carried a device that looked like a combination of a human tablet and a Kithara crystal. I am Nixara of the Technicians, the newcomer said. Do not listen to Veltar's superstitions. We have tested the soil, the air, the water. The trees are dying because of a fungal infection that spreads through the root system. Nixara showed Marcus readings on her device. The numbers meant nothing to him, but he could see charts that showed the spread of something through the grove over time. We have identified the exact type of fungus, Nixara continued. Your human scientists showed us how to use chemical analysis. We can create a treatment that will kill the infection and save the remaining trees. That sounds like a good plan, Marcus said. Why haven't you done it? Nixara's skin flashed bright red with anger. Because the cultivators say we cannot use chemicals on the sacred trees. And the spiritualists say we should not fight the natural cycle of death and rebirth. They block us at every turn. Marcus was beginning to see the problem. Each group had knowledge and tools that could help, but they refused to work together. Can you show me your treatment plan? Nixara led him to another part of the grove where several technicians were working with equipment that combined human technology with Kithara bioengineering. They had identified the diseased areas and developed a precise treatment plan, but Marcus could see that their approach was very aggressive and would require cutting away parts of the trees. Will this hurt the trees? Marcus asked. Some damage is necessary to save the whole, Nixara replied. It is better to lose a few branches than to lose the entire tree. As they talked, a third group approached. These Kithara had skin colors that seemed to shimmer and change like water, and they moved with a calm, flowing grace. Their leader was ancient, even older than Elder Zixhai, with skin like polished pearl. I am Raxel of the Spiritualists, the ancient Kithara said. Young human, you waste time on symptoms when you should seek the cause. Raxel led Marcus away from the dying trees to a hill that overlooked the entire grove. From here, Marcus could see patterns he had missed before. The dead trees were not scattered randomly. They formed rough lines that followed the natural flow of water through the area. The grove is dying because it is time, Raxel explained. All things have their season. These trees have lived for 1,000 years. Now their time is ending, and we must accept this truth. But Elder Zixhai said your people can't survive without the grove, Marcus said. We cannot survive without a grove, Raxel corrected. But there are other sacred places in the deep jungle where new groves can be planted. We should gather the seeds from the remaining healthy trees and find a new home. Marcus looked out over the grove again. How long would it take to grow a new grove? 50 years for the trees to mature fully. Perhaps 20 years for them to produce enough seeds to sustain a small village. 20 years. Marcus was shocked. Your people would have to live without lights and medicine for 20 years? Raxel's skin showed calm acceptance. Our ancestors lived that way for thousands of years before this grove was planted. It is possible, though difficult. Marcus spent the rest of the day talking to members of all three groups. The more he learned, the more frustrated he became. Each group was partly right, but they were so focused on proving the others wrong that they could not see how their different approaches might work together. That evening, Marcus sat alone in the guest room that had been grown for him in Elder Zixai's building. The walls glowed softly with warm light, and he could hear the night sounds of the jungle outside. He thought about his training in the Marines and all the times he had seen teams fail because they could not work together. An idea began to form in his mind. What if the three groups were not competing solutions but different parts of the same solution? The next morning, Marcus asked Elder Zixai to call all three groups together. They met in the central building, but the tension in the room was obvious. The cultivators sat on one side, the technicians on another, and the spiritualists kept to themselves near the entrance. "I've listened to all of you," Marcus began, "and I think you're all right." The room erupted in angry colors and chittering voices. Each group thought Marcus was insulting them by agreeing with their rivals. "Please listen to me," Marcus said loudly. "Veltar, your singing is beautiful, and I think it does help the trees. But Nixara is also right that there's a fungus killing them. And Raxel, you're right that this grove is very old and may be reaching the end of its natural life." The room grew quiet, but Marcus could see the angry orange and red colors still flashing on many skins. "What if we use all three approaches together?" Marcus continued. "What if we use Nixara's science to identify exactly which trees can be saved and which are too far gone? Then we use Veltar's songs to strengthen the healthy trees while the medicine works, and at the same time, we follow Raxel's wisdom and start planting a new grove in a better location." Veltar was the first to speak. "The songs are sacred. They cannot be mixed with chemicals and machines." "Why not?" Marcus asked. "If the songs help trees grow and heal, wouldn't they make the medicine work better?" Nixara's skin flashed with skeptical silver. "There is no scientific proof that singing affects plant growth." "Then let's test it," Marcus suggested. "You're scientists. Design an experiment. Try your treatment on some trees with singing and some trees without singing. See which ones recover better." Raxel spoke slowly, her ancient voice carrying the weight of years. "And what of the new grove? Who will choose the location? Who will plant the first seeds?" Marcus smiled. "All of you together. The spiritualist can find the right location using your ancient wisdom. The technicians can test the soil and water to make sure it's perfect for growing. The cultivators can sing the planting songs to give the new seeds the best start." For a long moment the room was silent. Marcus could see the skin colors of all the Cathera shifting and changing as they thought about his proposal. Finally, Veltar spoke. "It could work, if the others truly respect the sacred songs." Nixara nodded slowly. "We could gather much data from such an experiment. It would advance both our knowledge and theirs." Raxel closed her ancient eyes and seemed to meditate for a moment. When she opened them again, her skin showed the deep gold patterns that Marcus had learned meant agreement and wisdom. "The young human sees what we could not," she said. "Our different paths can walk together toward the same destination." The work began the next day. Marcus watched in amazement as the three groups of Cathera started working together for the first time in months. It was not easy at first. There were arguments about methods and disagreements about timing. But slowly, they began to find ways to combine their different approaches. Nixara and her technicians used their instruments to map the entire grove. They identified which trees were healthy, which were sick but could be saved, and which were too far gone to help. They created a detailed plan for treating the fungus that was killing the root systems. Veltar and the cultivators learned the scientific names for the fungus and the medicines. They composed new songs that included these words, creating melodies that matched the rhythm of the treatment schedule. The songs were still beautiful and sacred, but now they also carried practical information about the healing process. Raxel and the spiritualists used their deep knowledge of the jungle to find 3 possible locations for a new grove. They tested each place with ancient rituals, feeling the flow of water and energy through the land. Then they invited the technicians to run their soil tests and water analysis on each location. Marcus found himself working harder than he ever had in the Marines. During the day, he helped coordinate between the groups, making sure they shared information and did not work against each other. At night, he studied Kythera biology and plant science, trying to understand the complex relationship between the trees and the fungus. The first breakthrough came after 2 weeks of work. The technicians had developed a treatment that could be painted onto the bark of infected trees. When the cultivators sang their healing songs while applying the medicine, the trees responded much faster than expected. "Look at this," Nyxara said excitedly, showing Marcus her readings. "The trees treated with both medicine and song show 3 times faster recovery than those treated with medicine alone." Veltar's skin glowed with proud gold colors. The ancestors' wisdom proves itself once again. The songs carry the power of life. The songs create vibrations that help the medicine penetrate deeper into the bark, Nyxara added. Both explanations can be true, but their success created new problems. Word spread quickly to other Kythera villages about the human who was helping to heal the sacred grove. Delegations began arriving from settlements across the continent. Some came to offer help and supplies. Others came to see if the stories were true. And some came to object to an outsider interfering in sacred Kythera traditions. Marcus found himself in the middle of arguments he did not understand. Some Kythera thought it was wonderful that humans and Kythera could work together so well. Others were angry that their most sacred rituals were being shared with an alien. The tension came to a head when a delegation of traditional Kythera arrived from the old capital city. Their leader was a stern elder named Kixoth, whose skin remained a constant dark red color that Marcus had learned meant disapproval and anger. "This is an insult to our ancestors," Kixoth declared at a village meeting. "The trials for Chieftain are sacred. They are not meant for aliens who do not understand our ways." "The human understands our ways better than you do," Veltar replied angrily. "He brought our people together when you did nothing to help." Elder Zixhai stood up slowly, her ancient skin showing the deep colors of authority. "The trials test the heart, not the blood," she said firmly. "Our sacred stories tell of leaders who came from unexpected places. The only question is whether the candidate can complete all 3 trials." Kixoth's skin flashed brighter red. "And what of the 3rd trial? Will this alien truly sacrifice for people who are not his own kind?" Marcus had been wondering about the 3rd trial himself. Elder Zixhai had not yet explained what it would involve, only that it would test his willingness to put others before himself. "The 3rd trial will come when the grove is healed," Elder Zixhai announced. "Until then, we will continue the work that brings life back to our sacred trees." The work continued, but Marcus could feel the pressure building around him. More delegations arrived each week. Some brought gifts and offers of alliance with his human base. Others brought challenges and demands that he prove himself worthy of leading Kythera people. The breakthrough that changed everything came from an unexpected source. Little Kira, the child Marcus had rescued in the jungle, had been watching the work in the grove with fascination. One day she ran to Marcus with excitement, her skin flashing bright yellow with joy. Through a translation device, she told him that she had been having dreams about the trees. In her dreams, she could see patterns of light flowing through the grove like rivers. She drew pictures of what she saw, and when Nyxara looked at them, her skin turned pale with shock. "These are the fungal networks," Nyxara said, "but how could a child see them? Our instruments can barely detect these patterns." Raxel examined Kira's drawings with deep interest. "Children sometimes see what adults cannot," she said. "Their minds are not yet limited by what they think is possible." Kira's dreams showed them that the fungus was not just attacking individual trees. It was disrupting the entire network that connected all the trees in the grove. The trees shared nutrients and information through their root systems, but the fungus was blocking these connections. "This changes everything," Veltar said. "We need to heal the network, not just individual trees." Working together, the 3 groups developed a new approach. They would treat the fungus at the connection points between trees, while singing network songs that helped the trees reconnect with each other. At the same time, they would plant new seedlings in the damaged areas to strengthen the whole system. The work was complex and required perfect timing. Marcus found himself coordinating dozens of Kythera working in small teams across the entire grove. Each team included members from all 3 groups, and they had to work in harmony to succeed. The results were amazing. Within days, they could see changes in the grove. The treated trees began to glow more brightly. New growth appeared on branches that had been dead for months. The fungus retreated as the tree's natural defenses grew stronger. But the most remarkable change was in the Kithara themselves. The three groups were no longer separate factions arguing with each other. They had become one team working toward a common goal. Marcus watched cultivators teaching songs to technicians, while spiritualists shared ancient wisdom with both groups. "You have done something I thought was impossible," Elder Zixhai told Marcus one evening, as they watched the grove glowing with renewed life. "You have united our people not by forcing them to agree, but by helping them see how their differences make them stronger together." Marcus felt proud of what they had accomplished, but he also felt nervous about what was coming next. "What is the third trial?" he asked. Elder Zixhai's skin showed the deep, serious colors that meant she was thinking about important things. "Tomorrow you will enter the Cave of Echoes alone. Inside you will face the greatest test of all. You will have to choose between what you want and what others need. What kind of choice? That you will discover for yourself. The cave will show you possibilities and paths. Some will lead to happiness for you. Others will lead to service for others. The trial is not about making the right choice. It is about making the choice from your heart, knowing the full cost of what you decide." That night, Marcus could not sleep. He walked through the village, looking at the glowing buildings and listening to the night sounds of the jungle. He thought about his life as a Marine, his family back on Earth, and his dreams for the future. He also thought about the Kithara people he had come to know and care about. Little Kira, who had showed them the secret patterns in the grove. Veltar, Nixara, and Raxel, who had learned to work together. Elder Zixhai, who had trusted him with her people's most sacred traditions. Tomorrow he would have to choose between his old life and something completely new. Marcus did not know what the choice would be exactly, but he knew it would change everything. As dawn approached, he made his way to the Cave of Echoes, ready to face whatever waited inside. The Cave of Echoes stood at the edge of the village, hidden behind a curtain of glowing vines. Marcus had walked past it many times but had never been inside. Elder Zixhai led him to the entrance as the first light of dawn touched the jungle. "Remember," she said, her skin showing the deep colors of ancient wisdom, "the cave will test your heart, not your mind. Trust what you feel, not what you think you should feel." Marcus nodded and pushed through the vines. Inside, the cave was larger than he expected. The walls were covered with crystals that glowed with soft, changing colors. As he walked deeper, the crystals began to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. The passage led downward into the heart of the mountain. Marcus could hear his footsteps echoing strangely, as if the sound was bouncing off surfaces that were not there. The air grew warmer as he descended, and he began to smell something that reminded him of home. The passage opened into a vast chamber filled with floating crystals. Each crystal was as tall as a person and glowed with its own inner light. As Marcus entered the chamber, the crystals began to move, arranging themselves in a circle around him. Then the visions began. The first crystal showed him his life back on Earth. He saw his family's house, his mother cooking dinner in the kitchen, his younger sister playing with their dog in the backyard. He saw his Marine unit, his friends laughing and joking during their downtime. He saw the promotion he had been working toward, the career path that would lead him to become an officer. The vision was so real he could smell his mother's cooking and hear his sister's laughter. For a moment he forgot where he was. All he wanted was to go home, to return to the life he understood. But then the second crystal activated. This one showed him the Kithara village, but not as it was now. This vision showed the village dying. The sacred grove was completely dead. The buildings were dark and empty, and the Kithara people were scattered and homeless. He saw Veltar, Nixara, and Raxel arguing bitterly while their people suffered around them. "This is what will happen if you leave now," a voice said. Marcus looked around but could not see who was speaking. "The unity you created will not last without someone to maintain it. The three groups will return to their old conflicts and the grove will die completely." A third crystal lit up, showing him a different future. In this vision, he saw himself as the leader of the Kithara village. But he was no longer fully human. His skin had changed to show the color patterns of the Kithara, and he could communicate with them in their own visual language. He was respected and loved by the people, but when he looked in a mirror, he barely recognized himself. "This is the path of leadership," the voice continued. "To truly guide the Kithara, you must become one of them. The change is not just physical. Your mind will adapt to think as they think. Your heart will beat with their rhythms. You will gain much, but you will also lose much. Marcus stared at the vision of his transformed self. What exactly would I lose? The crystals around him shifted, and new visions appeared. He saw himself trying to explain his choice to his family back on Earth. They could not understand why he would give up his human life for aliens. He saw his Marine unit moving on without him, his friends making new memories he would not share. He saw the loneliness of being caught between two worlds, never fully belonging to either. But he also saw other things. He saw the Kithera village growing and prospering under wise leadership. He saw the three groups continuing to work together, their combined knowledge creating innovations that helped both humans and Kithera. He saw delegations from other alien species coming to learn about cooperation and unity. There is a third choice, the voice said, and a new crystal appeared. This one showed Marcus as himself, unchanged but serving as an ambassador between humans and Kithera. He would spend part of his time in each world, helping both species understand each other better. This path requires the greatest sacrifice, the voice warned. You will belong fully to neither world. You will be trusted by both but truly understood by neither. You will spend your life building bridges that others will cross, knowing you can never fully cross them yourself. Marcus walked slowly around the circle of crystals, studying each vision carefully. Each path offered different rewards and demanded different sacrifices. Each would help some people while disappointing others. Why do I have to choose now? He asked. Why can't I try different approaches and see what works? Because leadership requires commitment, the voice replied. The Kithera need to know that their leader will not abandon them when things become difficult. They need to trust that you will stay and work through problems rather than returning to your easier life when challenges arise. Marcus sat down in the center of the crystal circle and closed his eyes. He thought about everything that had brought him to this moment. Finding Kira in the jungle had been pure instinct. He had not thought about rewards or consequences. He had just done what felt right. Healing the grove had been different. That had required planning and hard work and patience, but it had also felt right. Seeing the three groups learn to work together had been one of the most satisfying experiences of his life. He opened his eyes and looked at the crystals again. The visions were still playing, showing him the different futures he could choose. But now he was seeing details he had missed before. In the vision where he returned to Earth, he saw himself always wondering what would have happened if he had stayed. In quiet moments, he would think about the Kithera and wonder if they were still united or if they had fallen back into their old conflicts. In the vision where he became fully Kithera, he saw himself sometimes looking at the stars and remembering his human family. The transformation would be complete, but part of him would always remember what he used to be. In the vision where he served as an ambassador, he saw the loneliness, but also the satisfaction. He saw children of both species growing up with stories about the human who helped unite the Kithera. He saw scientists and artists and teachers from both worlds learning from each other. Marcus stood up slowly. He had made his choice. I choose the third path, he said aloud. I will serve as an ambassador between our peoples. The crystals around him flashed with brilliant light, and then the chamber began to change. The walls dissolved, and Marcus found himself standing in a new place that looked like a combination of the Kithera village and a human base. Technologies from both species were integrated seamlessly, and he could see humans and Kithera working together on projects he could not even imagine. This is what you are choosing to build, the voice said. It will take many years and much sacrifice. Are you certain? Marcus nodded. I'm certain. The vision faded, and Marcus found himself back in the crystal chamber. But now there was an opening in the far wall that had not been there before. Light streamed through it, and he could hear voices calling his name. He walked toward the light and emerged into a huge gathering space he had never seen before. Hundreds of Kithera were waiting, along with a group of humans from his base, including his commanding officer. Colonel Peterson Elder Zixhai stepped forward, her skin glowing with the golden patterns of joy and pride. You have completed the 3 trials, she announced. You have shown mercy, wisdom, and the willingness to sacrifice for others. If you accept, we offer you the role of Chief Ambassador, a new position created to honor your choice. Colonel Peterson approached, looking confused but impressed. Sergeant Chen, what the hell is going on here? We've been looking for you for weeks. Marcus smiled. Sir, I think I need to explain a lot of things. But first I want to show you what humans and Kythera can accomplish when we work together. The ceremony that followed was unlike anything that had ever happened before. Marcus was formally appointed as the first chief ambassador between humans and Kythera. The role came with modifications to his biology that would allow him to communicate with the Kythera through their color language, but he would remain fundamentally human. Over the following months, Marcus worked to establish the first joint human-Kythera research station. Scientists from Earth came to study Kythera biotechnology, while Kythera engineers learned human manufacturing techniques. The sacred grove became a symbol of cooperation, its healing representing what the two species could accomplish together. The work was not easy. There were misunderstandings and cultural conflicts. Some humans thought Marcus had betrayed his own species, while some Kythera never fully accepted him as their leader. But there were also breakthrough moments that made all the difficulties worthwhile. 1 year after the trials, Marcus stood in the new research station, watching human and Kythera children playing together in a garden that combined plants from both worlds. Little Kira ran up to him, her skin flashing with happy colors as she showed him a flower that glowed with bioluminescent patterns she had learned to create using human genetic techniques. "Thank you for staying," she said in perfect English, which she had been learning from the human researchers. Marcus knelt down to her level. "Thank you for getting lost in the jungle that day." Kira giggled, her skin showing the swirling patterns that meant she was thinking about something funny. "Elder Zixai told me it wasn't really an accident. She said the spirits guided you to find me. Thank you for watching and comment for next part."